for accomplishments. I am truly humbled by this opportunity I have to be standing on the stage today. And I absolutely would not be here without the faithfulness of my Heavenly Father, first and foremost. My amazing team of champions, my awesome customers, and my biggest cheerleader, my husband. Love you, babe. And let's not forget the Mary Kay Corporate and their generosity in offering us the opportunity to earn extra credit. Anybody else thankful for that? It truly is a combination of all of those that carried our team over the finish line this year. What a year. Was it just me, or did anybody else feel like this year was a little different?
Yes.
Yeah. My year personally felt different. It felt slower than most. It seemed to lack momentum, and our team building was way down. It's also been a bit of a challenge for me to stay focused, as I've had a few distractions in my world. We have had 6 additional people living in our home for the past 18 months. The 4 youngest ones are ages 3, 6, 8, and 10. But they are 4 of my precious grandchildren. So to say that my house is in a constant state of motion and a little bit louder than normal, than we're used to, we've been empty nesters for quite a few years, is an understatement. And I'm a little ADD, so it doesn't take much to distract me. So talk about having to work consistently to stay focused. But on the flip side, I'm always reminding myself how blessed I am to have this time, that I can watch my grandchildren grow, but more importantly, a season that I have an opportunity to pour into their lives and influence them. Time that I could never get back, which has made me even more grateful for Mary Kay Ash, who created this opportunity so that we could have the flexibility to continue working throughout different seasons of our lives, all while keeping our priorities in order. Could you just stand with me right now and give a standing ovation to Mary Kay Ash, who forged the way, and for her family, especially the CEO, Ryan Rogers, who remained committed to keeping her dream alive for generations to come. Thank you. I love that my granddaughters get to watch me work my business, and I'm so grateful to know that this opportunity will be alive and well for them to choose when they get older. You know, no matter what the obstacles or distractions we may face, we always have a choice. Will we let them become our excuse or our reason to keep going, to stay on track, and to believe bigger anyway? As I walked my journey this year, there were many times I caught myself thinking, it's okay if you don't quite reach your goals. Everyone will understand. It's just a different season. There's always next year. But I would quickly bounce back and say, no, this is an opportunity to be an example to my grandchildren and children and to others that I can do hard things, and that my team of extraordinary women deserved to have a leader who remains faithful and consistent. Life will always be filled with ups and downs, challenges along the way. It's choosing to remain faithful to your purpose during those times that make all the difference. What are you using as an excuse? Are you willing to turn it around and use it as an opportunity? The excuses will always be there, but so will the opportunity. For me, it's a matter of belief and obedience. I started my business 13 years ago without any sales experience or leadership. I had worked as a registered nurse for 25 years and have served alongside of my husband as a pastor's wife for 40 years while raising 4 children. My heart has always been to serve others. I knew from the very beginning that God had brought me to this opportunity, so I continually gave it back to Him and seek His direction for where I should lead my team. Early this seminar year, I knew that I needed to lead my team to complete their $6 million a year. So I kept it in front of them month after month as the year progressed. As I looked at our numbers on any given month, compared to where we were the prior year and saw that we were definitely falling behind, it caused seeds of doubt and unbelief to pop up. I always had a choice. Do we keep going for the goal, or do we let ourselves off the hook? I chose to believe that anything is possible with God. It actually became our recurring theme on our director calls in the final months of the year. With man, it is impossible, but with God, anything is possible. We've had a God Week at Career Conference this year. We landed in the top 3 of our conference, which meant I had to prepare to speak. As I was praying about what to share, I had a vision of holding up a pair of big girl panties. And sharing that it was time for all of us to put on our big girl panties, refocus, and run to the finish line. I told the audience that these panties would hang in my office through the end of the seminar year as a daily reminder to not back down. And they did. They literally, there were days that I put them on over my clothes while I made booking calls. I showed them to my team often on our Zooms to let them know I was not backing down. And I also sent pictures of me holding them to people I was reaching out for bookings to show them that I was serious. They were a constant reminder that we must make a daily decision to be brave and bold and to run after our dreams. As we continue to work towards our goal, our numbers in March and April were not where I'd hoped they'd be. So there was still a big gap. So I focused on making May a huge month so we could somewhat close the gap to make June feel more doable. But again, we fell short, leaving us needing quite a bit in June, which would be the second highest that we had ever done in a month for our team. And let me just say, in previous years, that wouldn't have been so bad. But for this year, which was different, it was a bit scary. It was a huge number. So our biggest month this year had only been around half of that amount. So again, we just didn't have the momentum or the team building numbers that we needed to hit those huge numbers. So do we back down and celebrate landing in Prestige? I mean, after all, not a bad place to land, right? Or do we remain faithful, truly believing that with God, all things are possible? I decided to believe and to leave room for God to show up and show out. As we were approaching mid-June, we still had a huge gap. So I decided I had to personally work to help close the gap, to help the numbers come together so the team could see the numbers moving so they would be encouraged to keep going. I set a personal goal to sell as much as I could in that last week and a half of June. I knew I had to do more than I'd ever done before. I offered the biggest sale to my customers I've ever offered, and I invited them to invite their friends and family who did not have a Mary Kay Beauty consultant to join my customer private page. I gave a prize to my customer who added the most people to our page. I talked about our team goal and our commitment to it. I showed them my big girl panties. I kept them updated on how much more we needed to finish. I was willing to do my part to help us cross the finish line. I prayed and I asked God to bless my efforts, and boy, did He. I reached my goal in those last 9 days, and I have added in so many amazing new happy customers to my customer base because I was willing to go all in. I added 5 new personal team members, one that I met in the bookstore at the Southern Baptist Convention while there with my husband the second week of June. I believe God had our paths to cross, which led to an instant connection, which led to an hour-and-a-half coffee Zoom to share our stories with each other, and of course, some amazing Mary Kay products and this wonderful business opportunity with her. She decided to join my team. What a gift she was. In that last week of June, God would have it in His plan to give me uninterrupted time to work. My husband was away on a mission trip, and my daughter and her family were away for a vacation. I worked more hours in those final days than I ever have in the course of my business. It was nonstop, writing up orders from customers, working with team members, sending out messages and reminders to unit members and customers. And at moments it felt overwhelming. And again, at moments, I had moments of doubt and almost freezing with fear as the days quickly were passing and there was still so much work to be done. But I kept reminding myself and recommitting to be faithful and to leave the results to God. I knew that He could do more in a day than I could do in a lifetime. I didn't know how it was all going to come together, but I didn't need to know. Trying to communicate with my team of over 300 beauty consultants, not knowing that a large number of them were even getting the messages and not knowing who was on board and who wasn't, seemed exhausting to try to figure out. Trying to communicate with all of my customers and knowing that some were not even aware of my big sale and the clock was ticking. I just had to surrender it all and trust God to bless my efforts because I could only humanly do so much. Literally at times, I heard Him whisper, take a few minutes now and reach out to some of your customers. Now go send a message to all beauty consultants. And even times where He said, now go get some rest. He literally was guiding me. So I kept my head down. I remained faithful to do all that I could do and trusted Him with the results. One of my sister sales directors from our national area, Robin Marshall, shared in our Voxer group one day during the final week of June a song entitled More Than Able by Elevation Worship, and that she had prayed that song over each of us as leaders as we were finishing up our year. I was in tears the first time I played that song and listened to those words. The very first words are, when did I start to forget all of the great things you did? When did I throw away faith for the impossible? Why do I talk myself out of seeing miracles? You are more than able. You are more than able. Who am I to deny what you can do? Anything is possible. Anything is possible. I continued to blast that song as I was working that final week, and the words of that song kept me grounded and completely took the pressure off of me and helped me to lay it at His feet in total surrender, knowing that it was possible. Sunday morning, June 30th, when I woke up, we still were a significant amount away from reaching our goal. And I honestly had no idea where that could even come from. So I was getting ready for church. That feeling of fear and doubt tried to creep in once again. I immediately dropped to my knees and once again played that song, More Than Able. And as I listened to these words, it said, I've come a long way. I've seen how you work. There's so much goodness and grace, much more than I deserve, because I know who I am, and I can't stay where I'm at. We've come this far by faith, and I just can't turn back, because you're not done with me yet. There's so much more to this story. You're not done with me yet. Don't stop believing right now. Once again, I surrendered what was impossible to the one who makes all things possible and simply asked Him to bless my efforts and to bless the efforts of my team members. I knew that He was not done with us yet. And I kept saying, I can't, but you can. I can't, but you can. And I heard Him whisper, faithful to the finish. I got up off my knees and I had a sense of peace. I was determined to just be faithful to the finish. My husband was flying in from an overseas trip that day, and I had to pick him up at the airport immediately after church. And yes, we had plans to start a 2-week vacation that day, June 30th, that day. So we came home and I quickly packed my bags for our beach vacation, in between continuing to process personal customer orders, and I worked the entire way to the beach in the car, And as soon as we arrived at the beach house, we both got our computers out, we planted ourselves at the kitchen table, and he got quickly trained on how to be my assistant. And we were racing against the clock and working until the final minute. It was intense, right, babe? Trying to track those numbers, and they were being all wonky, was a bit overwhelming. But I kept hearing, faithful to the finish. And that's all I knew to do. We had beauty consultants reaching out at the last minute saying they were waiting to hear back from customers. We're needing on-hold orders. And honestly, as we sat down to the final and got down to the final minutes, we really didn't have a clear vision of how it was all going to come together. But Monday morning, we were back at it, helping team members, and I still had customers reaching out, sending me in last-minute orders. And on Tuesday, the final day to get on-hold orders processed, was the day that my son and his family from Houston, Texas, were flying in to spend just over 24 hours with us. So we were driving back from the beach to our house to spend that time with them. And I was still working in the car. We got into town, we stopped at the church, we ran up to the conference room, and we were processing orders. And boy, I knew that I had to have it finished by the time my family arrived because my phone was gonna be put away. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. So thank you Stacy Friend too for checking our numbers. Oh my goodness, as we were like trying to make sure. So thank you for checking our math behind us. I remember literally shaking as those last orders were going in. And the overwhelming feeling of, I can't believe this is happening. But on the other hand, totally expecting and believing for nothing less. I honestly can't tell you how it all came together, but just that God did what we couldn't do, and all the glory goes to Him. I am a true testimony of what God can do through us if we fully commit to Him and continue to trust and work even when it seems impossible. So let me ask you, what are you believing for this seminar year? Are you willing to remain faithful to the finish? Remember, as you run your race this year, to turn your excuses into opportunities and keep your big girl panties on. You can do hard things. Even when it seems impossible, remember that all things are possible with God. I pray that you will not back down from the goals and the big dreams that you have on your heart. May you always keep that finish line in clear sight with belief that you have already crossed it. And remember, if I can, you can. Thank you and have a great seminar year. I'm a